Okay, hi. Today I'm going to show you how to graph a parabola and follow all the steps. So our first step is, let's look at this graph. The graph says y equals 3 quantity x minus 1 squared plus 2. Now, this is in the proper format, the nice format, the completed square format, so that you can easily see what the vertex is. So the vertex in this one is always going to be the opposite of what's inside with the x minus 1. So instead of negative 1, it's 1. And the y value is the 2 on the outside. So the vertex is 1, 2. So we can go ahead and plot that on our equation. 1, 2. Go ahead and plot that point as our vertex. Okay, next step is the parabola going up or is it going down? Well, in this example, since we have a 3 in front of the x minus 1 and it's positive, we know that the parabola is going up. Okay, so what I usually do is I just put little lines on where my vertex is, showing that I know it's going up. I don't know exactly where it's going to hit yet, but we know that it's going up. Now notice that because of it's going up from there, we're not actually going to have x intercepts this time, only y intercepts. But I'm going to show you what happens if you didn't remember that and tried to solve the x intercepts anyways. But first let's do the y intercepts. Okay, the y-intercept is found by setting x equal to 0. Remember, it's the opposite. So to find the y-intercept, you set x equal to 0. To find the x-intercept, you set y equal to 0. So I go back to my original equation, which is y equals 3x minus 1 squared plus 2. And I go ahead and set x equal to 0. So I get y equals 3, 0 minus 1 squared plus 2, and solve for y. Okay, so we have negative 1 squared, which is 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So y equals 5. 5 is our y-intercept. Again, we can go ahead and plot that. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and plot these in blue. I started in black, but now I'm going to change to blue so you can see it better. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and plot our y-intercept at 0, 5. So this point is at 0, 5 because x equals 0. Now, I usually require that you find what I call the y-symmetric partner. Now, in this case, the y-symmetric partner is the point that is opposite the parabola at that same y value. So since we went over 1, on parabola, that means that our y-symmetric partner is at 2, 5. So you can see I've plotted that here. And actually, in this case, we're done. Because we don't have x-intercepts, we go ahead and plot this. Remember, it's a curve. The parabola is a curve. Don't just draw it as a straight line, it's a curve. Okay, did a pretty good job there showing it. Now, let's say you had done this problem, but you were required to find the x-intercepts. But in this case, the x-intercepts are none. So let's see what happens, though, if you try. So to find the x-intercepts, we set y equal to 0 and solve. Okay, so let's do that. So if we set y equal to 0, we have 0 equals 3x minus 1 squared plus 2. Now the goal of this is to get x by itself. So first let's subtract 2 from both sides. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, next step is let's get rid of the 3. So it's 3 times x minus 1 right now, so divide by 3. So you get x minus 1 squared equals negative 2/3. Okay. Now what you're going to need to do now is take the square root of both sides of this. So when I take the square root, remember what square root does if I take a square. I have to do plus or minus because there's actually two answers that will work in this case. So I have to put the plus or minus on the outside. And let's step over here a little bit. Let me write a little line. And let's step over here. I ran out of room. And so I've got x minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of negative 2/3. Now at this point, if you know much about square roots, you know right away we can't have an answer that's a real answer because we can't have a negative square root. That takes us into the imaginary number world, and so it will not show up on the graph. But let's just continue with our steps and see what we get. We get x equals, if we add 1 to both sides, we get x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 2/3. And you're done now. We've completed the problem, and we know that there's no real numbers for this, so these won't appear. Right here, these two numbers will not appear, and we're done. We've actually solved the problem. We've graphed it with as many points as we need to kind of show what we're doing. That's it. Thanks.